game is an amateur game. I mean, the professional side of it, there are idols and heroes and fun to watch them play. But I mean, if it wasn't for amateur golf, there would be no golf.
You have to remember, when you play a golf course and you're out there for 4 hours or whatever, you're only hitting a ball for 15 minutes of that. So there's a lot of time to look around.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Top 100 Clubhouse podcast. I'm your host, James Henderson, and I'm with our editor of the Top 100 golfcourses.com website, Jasper Miners. How you doing, Jasper?
Yeah, doing well. Yeah, it's great. I didn't expect to run into James near London today, but it's nice. It was a bit of a change, and nice to get out of the house.
It was a complete and utter accident, if anything. It was a rogue road trip, and I think everyone needs to do that more. It may not be the day for golf today in North London, but at least we managed to get a few things done.
Absolutely, yeah. It's when I first came up to Hadley Wood, I looked out and I seen James in his like budgie smugglers out there.
Oh yeah,
and as well he's hitting a bucket of balls. But it's not a good day for golf. It's draining well though with the new bunker work they've done and the drainage work. Like,
all it's done is rain all day, and I've been wandering around that golf course, and I got soaked, but the bunkers are still dry.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It makes a change. North London, Hadley Wood is one I've been banging on about for a bit. Obviously, Clyde Johnson has done quite a bit of work, and Brett Hochstein. So two young shapers that have come through the Renaissance kind of farm system, if you will, have worked their way through the ranks and are now architects in their own rights. And they've done some amazing work here. Obviously, Brett's work stateside at Pasatiempo, a couple of other Mackenzie courses there. Clyde consults at numerous Mackenzie courses, and this is one that's flied under radar for quite a while. But I think from next year, a lot more people are going to start to hear about Hadley Wood in London. Yeah,
100%. It's a very impressive site. It's quite cool. I did enjoy walking around it. And then we've been very kindly looked after by them. They've let us film in their clubhouse, and for a couple of pods, our next 2 pods. So firstly, we're going to cover over all the rankings that have happened and things that are going on in the rankings around Christmas time. And then we're going to do a podcast around Christmas time that's going to be our year in review. Are you ready for that one?
Yeah, looking forward to it. So been looking forward to this for a while, and we've got lots. I mean, it's been a busy year, and I think we're just getting going. It feels like Top 100's in a really good place. We feel like we've got lots of momentum, and we're excited about the year ahead.
Okay, so what's happening in the rankings? What's happening around the rankings right now?
So this week we are putting out the New Zealand ranking. Next week we're a bit quieter with regards to the content we're pushing out for Australia or on the socials. And then a week after that we get into Australia. So this has kind of been one of those ones that I've really been looking forward to, because we had a smaller panel in Australia and New Zealand for previous rankings. I was asked if I would look after rankings January 2025. So kind of 1 year into it, and we've effectively brought in a load of guys in New Zealand and in Australia that had quite a lot of depth of play in the Oceania region. And we've given them effectively a carte blanche. Tell us, here's our guidance. You tell us the courses that match up best to that. And I think what we'll find is there's been some movement at the top, but quite a lot of movement in the bottom. But that's just a reflection of having really switched on, architecturally led guys that are well played, helping us out with our rankings. So it's probably going to be, without a doubt, it is our best New Zealand or Aussie rankings. And the culmination of that is the Oceania rankings that will come out. So not everybody's going to agree with it, even within the panel. Controversially, we've St. Andrews Beach still ranks higher than some of the other ones that you would expect, perhaps if you were a traditionalist in the Sandbelt in Melbourne. Royal Melbourne East, Victoria, Peninsula Kingswood, those have their fans, but St. Andrews Beach still ranks very highly. So look, that's the best thing about these rankings, is that it stimulates debate.
Well, that's what the whole website's really about, right? It's about having a list to go and check out and then arguing with someone whether it's correct.
And you know what? Some of those decisions that are being made, you get accusations of like, oh, this is just clickbait, or you guys are just trying to like be different, or genuinely, we've never made a decision on a ranking to just make people like incense people to stir the pot. Genuinely, we feel that when we make these decisions, when we put courses where they think they should be, that is according to what we feel is important in golf. That's a reflection of it. And St. Andrews Beach is probably one of the bolder claims that the World Panel has made. You've played it. I've played it. We've had a lot of people locally that have played it, and it is just different than the type of golf that you would find in Melbourne. So it's a bit of a Marmite course. Not everybody understands it or gets it or feels that it fits.
It doesn't help that it's essentially a council pay to play.
I think there's a bit of that there, where anyone can rock up. I mean, I think we've spoken about this before. I've played it a couple of times, and the last time I was there, I immensely enjoyed it. But the round was long. I think it was near enough 6 hours, and it's because there was like, I don't know, two groups that had joined together that basically had a load of beers, and by the end of the round, I don't know, they were playing with flip flops, muscle shirts, and swimming trunks, and that's fine. That's a reflection of the type of golf that's on offer there. But the golf course, if you can just divide all of that off.
But that's a special skill, right? That's the skill that a lot of these people have, that maybe a person did have a bad round because it took 6 hours and the people in front of them were playing music and were loud and annoying. Of course, you're not going to enjoy that day, but you need to be able to separate that from the quality of the golf course.
And I think there is a bit of that. I mean, you do get a lot of big courses in America where if it's really difficult to get on, it's almost like once you find yourself there, you're like, well, it's probably not as good as I think it should be or what I was expecting. But because you've spent either so much effort to network and find a way in, or you've paid to play in some way or another, that it's almost like it has to be good. And you convince yourself that it has to be good because you put so much effort to find that first tee. Where when you can just rock up, pay your green fee, and walk on, maybe the bar is a little bit higher because it's the only thing that you really have to go on is the quality and caliber of the golf. So what I'm really looking forward, or what I've really appreciated about New Zealand, though, is that courses like Arrowtown that are a bit more rough, ready, rugged, quirky, bold, interesting, those have risen through the ranks. And that wasn't because of any moderation from my part or the World Panel. That was, we had the right guys on the ground who get golf in New Zealand, who looked at the guidance we gave them, looked at the golf courses they played, and they put Arrowtown on top. Now, a lot of the comments we've had back is that like it's not well presented and the conditioning can suffer. And it's like, that's fine. But what I love about it is if I go to Arrowtown and play, I'm playing a golf course that I can't play anywhere else. Where if I go to some of the other ones, I can probably play those courses in most major golfing markets in Europe, in North America, or in Oceania, or in New Zealand or Australia. And that's all well and good. But I think as a traveling golfer, you want to be able to go and say, I've played a really cool, unique course that I could only find here.
Well, I did find it very funny on the Instagram when two people complained about the Arrowhead, the conditioning. So you tagged them both in it and said, you guys have a game.
You try not to be too facetious when you're getting involved in socials. But you do like it when you can try and marry up two individuals that you obviously see that they love golf in a particular vein. And what's important to them is things like conditioning. So it's like, yeah, it'll be very good for you guys to meet and have a game. So hopefully they enjoy one another's company. Certainly have a lot in common when it comes to golf courses.
Oh, that was so funny. That's just a really good way of engaging on Instagram. Absolutely brilliant. It is exciting because you've put a huge amount of work in the last year into the rankings. And there has been years in the past where a lot of the rankings have been decided by smaller groups. And now we've done a huge amount of days. Like you organize all those days across England to try and develop the regional rankings within England. And it's starting to pay off and it's exciting.
It is. obviously we had the regional events. So what we want to do is basically divide England into 9 different regions. And we set up the various events because we felt that there's going to be more individuals that we didn't know personally through our social networks that would effectively be an asset to Top 100 and the rankings. So we've had loads of people apply. Those were shortlisted. We brought them to the events. From those events, we kind of distilled down the individuals that were invited, and we were left with between probably 3 to 5 people from each event that had depth of play in that particular region, that had seen kind of the heady heights of world golf, played world top 100 stuff, all the way down to like local clubs in their own area that you wouldn't see on Top 100. And their input's been particularly valuable. So historically, what's happened is that we always did a top-down approach. So the world panel would set the world 100. Then they would work into the regions, and those individuals on the region panel would decide the next lot. And then it would go down to country. So in this case, you would have the world, then you would have GB&I, then you would have England, and then you'd get down into the counties. And what we found, though, was that if the panels above them, using that kind of cascade approach, if the panels above them had a particular slant or a view on things, and there was only a few people that were contributing towards it, there was courses that were pushing from the bottom up that never got the light of day. So what we decided to do this time was to go from a county level. So what we did was we asked everybody to give us their county rankings. And in the past, we've had roughly around 10 people, maybe a little bit more in some cases, that would contribute to these various rankings. And they've done a very good job. The foundation that's been laid has been brilliant, and it's been decades in the making. But what we've done now is we've invited not just the local individuals that have local play, but we have lots of individuals that perhaps were born and bred in GB&I that have moved to America, or they play a lot of great golf in America and they make yearly visits to England, Scotland, and Ireland to play golf. And you've got individuals who have played the top 50 courses in England, the top 50 courses in Scotland, and the top 30 courses in Ireland. But because they didn't live here, or because they didn't have like 80% of, say, the top 100 in England, we never considered them for a panel to contribute towards it. And that's one of the big changes that we've made. So this time at last count, we've had 78 different individuals contribute towards GB&I. So that's the overall GB&I ranking, Ireland, England, Scotland. And Wales is a bit difficult because there's not a lot of people that have played in Wales. So that panel has effectively stayed the same, although Dai's done a really good job.
But he's built quite a good panel already. So he kind of got this already. He got it before it even started to move to this direction.
Absolutely. So Dai's done a really good job. Obviously, he's had a lot of help from Brian. And then we've got a handful of other guys that have contributed towards that have really stepped up and tried to get around and play. So we're very confident with Wales. And I think that's the top 50 now. So we're happy with where we've got it in Wales, and there hasn't really been a lot of changes in the top 10. But for the rest of the country as a whole, we've got like almost 7 times more people that are contributing towards giving us a really balanced kind of like broad church approach to rankings. And so instead of going from like the top down and cascading, where a lot of the big decisions have been made, by the time you got down to, let's say, county level, in England, or let's say Berkshire or Surrey or whatever it might have been, like the top 5 or 6 bases in all of those county rankings had been decided. And so you're dealing with a lot of the lower tier stuff. Where when we opened it up and we said, look, we're going to turn this on its head, and you can tell us what you think is good from the bottom up.
Well, who knows if you live in the northeast of England, you're going to know what's going on in those golf courses and what's appropriate and how much work they're putting into maintaining mowing lines or green sizes or whatever. Whereas a guy who's last time he played it was 10 years ago can't do that definition.
Well, and that's the thing. So I think when it comes to really high level stuff like World 100, there's not a lot of movement. Like kind of the top 100 courses and maybe the next 50 contenders, unless you get some really cracking new builds like TRI or, you know, some of these big, where they've got top-notch architects, unlimited budgets, and great sites, you can almost put them in and say, okay, well, we're thinking that that'll probably be a contender. Or you get some other greats that have gone through significant amounts of restoration. So Casa de Campo is another one that we've got on our radar. Yale is another one that we're just waiting for. So again, previous top 100 courses that should be back better than ever. Where will they enter again? Who knows? Will they enter again? Who knows? But then you contrast that with, say, like the course at, say, the Lido, or St. Patrick's, where it just kind of enters in and it finds its space, and universally it's almost accepted that it's one of the greats as soon as it opens. So, but yeah, getting back to the UK, I think what we've got now is a situation where we've got so much more data coming in. It's allowed us to go back to kind of the base level. And once you start getting those local counties sorted, then you go up to regions, then you go up to country, then you get fed back into GB&I, and then you kind of align that with the world. That's really been good and has challenged the status quo. And we've had the benefit of having a lot more data to see these patterns emerge. So I'm really excited. We're working on it now. We've kind of got a couple of final drafts for England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Ireland. We've got a final draft for GB&I. Obviously, that will go through a bit of moderation just to make sure that there's no anomalies and that it kind of follows through the wishes of the panel. But yeah, looking forward to seeing that land, because I think it's going to be probably the best yet.
This episode is brought to you by the Lockhart Travel Club. We believe golf is more than a game. It's a journey. A journey we've made across 34 of the world's top 100 courses last year, and now is your turn. We curate bespoke travel experiences for passionate golfers who expect nothing but the best. Membership is limited, so join us at lockharttravelclub.com. One thing that will be raised, I definitely, before anyone says it, is we are down on Parkland. Do you want to give a wee reason for that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's not that we don't like Parkland Golf. I mean, we're both sat here at Parkland Golf Course.
Superb Parkland Golf Course.
And you look around the UK and you've got excellent Parkland Golf. Even in just this part of London, you've got Stoke Park, not a million miles away. You've got the Grove. You've got Hadley Wood just down the road. You've got Ashridge. You've got up near Birmingham. You've got
a lot of good. There's a lot of good
Parkland golf courses. And I think the thing to keep in mind is that sometimes things are exciting or an anomaly for English golf. So, for example, like Parklands, when they're done well, is something different from links and heathlands that dominate. And so sometimes I think from an English perspective is because it's new or exciting or different, it gets a bit of a push up. Where if you go to America and you play Parkland golf, the bar is so high for Parkland golf. So when you get someone that has an international perspective of Parkland golf, and they come in and look at Parkland golf in the UK, and they compare it to what they've got locally in America, you would look at Parkland golf in the UK and say, well, it's a really good parkland. That should be like 75 in England. And I think what we find is, especially with the international rankings, they look at the parklands that we have here and they say, if this was in my own state, it wouldn't even register in the top 50 or the top 100.
Yeah.
But that's actually quite good, because what's happening is that we're getting a perspective that allows people to kind of see from a high level all these different types of golf, and we get a better perspective. So if I'm an American and I'm coming over here and I go to the UK's best Parkland golf course, it probably doesn't compare to most of the high-end Parkland in America. Where here it's it's one of the best examples of its kind, so it's obviously in the ranking, where actually most traveling golfers would look at England and say, I want to play links and I want to play Heathland, because that's what you guys do and that's what you guys do the best.
Yeah.
So I think there is a little bit of a lean towards that. I don't know if we've made a conscious effort to like weed out Parklands, but there definitely is that appetite. And I think when we have the data feeding in from a lot of the international visitors, when they look at our Parkland golf courses, they don't tend to do as well in the rankings simply because they're comparing it to a really high standard.
Well, they have much bigger budgets, hugely more money to be able to, and Parkland's very expensive to maintain to a high standard.
And I think that's what it is. So the things that we say make golf great, so short grass, firm turf, landforms, so topography and turf conditions, agronomy, things like that, those things usually either have to be maintained, massive investment in it, and you need to be on a pretty cracking piece of land.
Well, the cost of sand capping is millions.
Yeah.
The cost of tree removal is infinite because you can't get it. So, like it's, there's lots of different things that actually are within EU or UK regulation that actually hinder the Parkland golf community as well. It's not actually the quality of the golf course. There's tree removal is a big one.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's not that we don't like Parkland golf. We do. We think it's great. You and I were heading over to the States this year. We're going to play hopefully quite a lot of golf in America. Some trips planned, and Parkland will feature heavily in that.
Yeah,
and we're excited about it.
Yeah, big time. It's nothing to do with that. It's just more the fact that we have to rate things on an international standard, not on a local standard.
Exactly. And with that perspective, that just changes things. And I think what we're seeing now is that because we've opened up contributions to the panel from an international perspective, the things that England does really well, Heathlands and links, are kind of rising to the top. So that'll be exciting to see.
Let's be honest. As a Scotsman, I'm not flying to Florence and eating fish and chips. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So they might have some excellent fish and chips there. I don't know. Never looked for it.
And that maybe proves the point. The other thing that's really exciting about what's going on is, so historically top 100, and this has been a bit controversial internally as well, is the desire to realign the rankings. And what we mean by that is that the rankings will be done geographically now based on county lines. So if you're from Canada, it's the provinces. If you're from the States, it's the states. But we effectively wanted to do that for the website in the UK. Previously, it's always been done by golf unions. So these were, effectively playing jurisdictions that had historic roots of previously established geographical boundaries. So here in London's a good example. One of the big unions is Middlesex. It doesn't actually exist as a place anymore, but we had a Middlesex ranking. And a lot of county golfers would know Middlesex and knew what that was. But if you were a traveling golfer from abroad or America and you wanted to know what was a good golf course in London, you wouldn't know that you needed to look at the Middlesex ranking to find out.
I don't think I could point Middlesex on a map.
So, and that's the point. So, if as a British person or a Scotsman was near London looking for golf, if Middlesex wasn't in your general awareness or consciousness, then it'd be very difficult to find the golf course you wanted to play. So we've taken a stance where we know the golf course is predominantly used by individuals who are planning golf trips, whether that's internationally or within country. So we felt that it was best to align the rankings with geographic boundaries. So we will have a London ranking, we will have the major counties represented and the regions as well. But interestingly, one of the things that come up is not just London, that's one of the major changes, but the Northwest. You mentioned it previously. But counties like Merseyside might just be the best golfing county in the country.
I've been saying it for years.
So everybody talks about like Surrey, Berkshire down in London. And it's true. There's great golf there and it's really top heavy. Berkshire probably has the best, Surrey probably has the deepest. But like when you look at the Northwest and Merseyside, basically from Hoylake up to Birkdale and all those courses on that
It's
coast,
incredible.
there's like 10 or 12 golf courses there that you would happily go and play.
Unbelievable.
All in one county.
Yeah.
And it's the first time that we've been able to effectively do a ranking for Merseyside proper. So I think that's quite good, where you start to get some of these things emerge where previously you've got courses that are being compared against each other that have never been ranked before. So when you rank this course against that course and you were previously in different rankings, now there's that question of, well, is this course better than this course? And that's given us a lot of interesting data, but then the results of that have been really interesting as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. It's a bit of a change. It marks a difference. People probably see things a little bit differently, but it's good. It allows us to look at the golf courses that we've been ranking historically in a new light with fresh eyes, with a lot more people contributing. And the results, I wouldn't say were revolutionary. They were probably evolutionary.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
It's a very exciting time.
Yeah.
It is a very exciting time. And just from being part of that process, and I know you've done almost all the work. So apart from the people that have handed in their thoughts, watching it develop and grow over the last year has been very cool to see that development. And you turn to me occasionally and say, "Oh, what do you think about this?" It's like, "Oh, that's pretty fucking cool." Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Well,
and it's those kind of things that you get excited about, right?
And I'll be honest with you, like as far as contributing my thoughts towards the panel, once we've got all the data in and we sit down and look at it, of course, there's a couple of things where, by and large, like a panel will say, "I think this course is better than that course," and I look at it and I say, personally, I don't agree. But it's not my panel. It's not my ranking. You know, I can do my own ranking, but no one's interested in that.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of random things, random golf courses no one's ever heard of. That are really quirky.
Yeah. With lots of livestock and like wire fences around greens. So
the average green speed is 3.
Yeah, exactly. And no one would really want to play the type of golf that I really enjoy or how I enjoy it. I mean, it's an interesting one. I was looking at the English ranking this morning as we were putting it together. And I would say that's the thing to keep in mind. So although I'm responsible for the rankings, quote unquote, it doesn't mean I have to be involved in them or that I need to necessarily contribute towards them.
You're a collator, you manage the system you've created a system that means that you can get the best out of what these people's opinions are.
And that's right. If we feed the right information in one end, once it goes through, we should get the right information out the other end. And that's where I think it's been good. We've got a lot more people involved. And in sometimes when we look at like historic data compared to what we've got now, we've had a lot of things right. But it's been nice to have a fresh perspective, and I'm very happy with where it's at. And of course, it'll move on every year. Things change and evolve. The way people see things, the way they experience them, when they get to see more in golf and they realize what's important in golf, oftentimes, that changes people's perspectives. But yeah, I'm excited about the release for GB and I. We've also got Spain and Portugal. We've got an amazing panel. Shout out to those guys. Spain is probably it's obviously a reflection of the culture, but like that WhatsApp group is just like every morning I wake up and there's just tons of messages in Spain. They just love it and they're all for it. So they've done a tremendous amount of work. They've got through, and I know it's a big market for us as like Brits traveling for winter golf to Spain and Portugal. So that's one that's quite exciting, and there has been quite a bit of change there. But getting the right guys and letting them just get on with it.
That's the interesting thing, right? So I've been to some of the Spanish courses across the years. I've grown up in Britain. You'd go to Spain. It's like a normal thing people do. And it's like Americans going to Florida. So, and there's a bit of a kinship to the two. There's some great golf and there's some absolute normal average stuff.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that I have played historically that would have been on Spanish rankings, not high up, let's be honest, but would have been on there, might have been attached to a smart hotel. Might have been, I don't know, something to do with it that made the environment of it feel like the golf course was better. So it's really exciting to see that Spanish ranking go out with an actual bunch of people who care so deeply about great golf.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think the majority of our Spanish panel, they are Spaniards or Portuguese, but they are members at Scottish clubs, or they spend like a few months out of the year traveling and playing great golf, either in America or other places in the world, but they have a depth of play everywhere. And those are the same types of guys that have been able to contribute towards like the English. So having their perspective has been really good, because if you were raised in that environment and you're playing those golf courses, to have a really good understanding of what makes golf great, like you really have to work for it.
The process isn't done yet, though. There's a huge amount of areas around the globe that you still are looking for rankers and raters, and we'll be doing a lot more events around that. Have you got any specific places that you're...
Yeah, so we're working on a couple of things. We've had some events that we're talking to various clubs in Scotland this year. So hopefully we'll have 3, maybe 4 events in Scotland, which would be quite good to look forward to. And we've got some exciting partners as well. So I know we've been talking with Neil from Fife. So yeah, looking forward to doing more with them. Hopefully that all comes to fruition. I'm sure it will. But we're talking with some hotels and some golf clubs to make sure that those are like premium events, great golf courses, but also there'll be opportunities for people to get involved if they want to get kind of in with the ranking / panelist process. We'd also like to do some stuff in Dublin. And if we can get at least 1 or 2 in one in Northern Ireland, 1 in Dublin, and if we can do it, maybe a couple more, maybe down to Galway and then down to the southwest. So it'd be nice to see if we could deepen in Ireland as well, because we definitely need some more depth there. We've got some very good individuals that help us out in Ireland, and they have for quite a few years. They're great, but we just need more voices to be heard that have seen some of the depth stuff in and around Ireland. Because there's some cracking golf out there that, again, it's just hard to see it all. I spent a little bit of time in Ireland. I think I spent 10 weeks there this year traveling and playing golf. And I mean, there was a lot of dross, I'll be honest. Some of the little kind of like 9-hole links courses. The best bit was, quick story, I was in Mulroney, which is in Mayo, or at least on the west side. I don't know exactly which area it's in. I think it's Mayo. And I went to a couple other courses. One was Doohoma, Doohoma. And it was like 5 miles away from the next golf course that I went to. And they said, "Oh, where have you been this morning?" And I told them, and they had never even heard of that golf course that I was at. It was like 5 miles away. But it just shows you that like there's these really small golf courses that have a handful of local members that are tended to by sheep that are in some pretty cool locations. And most of the time you show up, you put your 5 or 10 euro in an envelope and an honesty box, you play, and that'll be your one and only time to go because it's not worth going back. But every once in a while you get like a cracking golf course that defies expectations and actually delivers. And Mulroney was a good example of that. I've been back a few times. That's not the first time I've been, so I knew that it was worth going to see. And every time I go and play it, it's a great little 9-hole golf course. So we're always on the lookout for those types of things. And I've played a lot of golf courses just kind of like scrolling through Google Maps to try and find something that looks like it on Linksland, and have driven, played, and will never go back. But you're always in this pursuit for like kind of that last hidden gem. I mean, the west of Scotland's another good example, and all of the islands.
Yeah.
Off the west coast.
It also is seeing uniqueness, because a lot of these places weren't built or designed by anyone of note.
No.
Probably the local farmer or postie or whatever. And it's the natural site that they've just mowed a green out, mowed the fairway, and probably never seen a digger.
Exactly.
So you do get unique features that you can then turn around and be like, actually, I saw this bump on this hole that was very cool.
and I think that's what you're looking for. Is it maybe these guys? We're in an area now where a time where perhaps we know too much. If you go online, you can find drone footage and flyovers of almost every great golf course that there is, and that's brilliant. But it's a lot of these little, and to use an overused expression, like hidden gems that you really want to try and seek out and see. And when you think about the amount of golf courses, like we've got, say, Top 100 England, we've got our county level stuff. But when you tot it all up, it's a few hundred golf courses. But there's thousands out there, just in England. And it's like, is there one or two courses out there that everyone's sleeping on that we just haven't found yet? And I do think they're there. And it's trying to shine a light on that. So, yeah, if anyone wants to get involved, if you have a good understanding of architecture, if you have a working knowledge of agronomy, if you've seen kind of like the best of golf, and that's, say, World Top 100 from the British Isles or maybe stateside, if you've been privileged enough to be over there, and you have a working knowledge of those things, then you're qualified to be a panelist. Your view is important to us. So that's what's exciting about 2026. We'll deepen our panels. We'll continue to build this structure out. And then we'll start to get into America as well. We did really well with Canada this year. We've got a great panel in Canada that's done very, very good. We've got a top 100 with 50 contenders that was very well received. Controversially, but we think well received. America Top 100 is fine. We think we have a really good handle on the really, really top tier stuff in America. But once we get down into the States, we need a bit more help. So we do all right in places like New York, California, Texas. We've got a great panel that's being built. Utah, kind of the major golf markets. But there's places out there that we just need more help. And like I say, we have a good handle on the USA Top 100 because most of our guys are members of those clubs and they travel and play most of those clubs on a yearly basis. So we know what's good and what's what. But once we get lower into the lower tier stuff in state, that's where I need a bit of help. So if you're listening to the podcast, you want to get involved, reach out, give us a DM. We'll be able to find it. Or give us an email and we can have a chat and we can see if you can help.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. And over the next few years, we will definitely be doing more events around places like the States. But we're sorting out where we live first and then we'll
that's right.
Come over and say hi. I think that's pretty much everything we need to talk about on that.
For rankings, I think that's pretty much covered it. Obviously, there'll be a little bit more content when we push these out. We'll be looking to kind of tell the clubs a little bit beforehand so that they can, the ones that have gone up, obviously will be excited about their new positions. The ones that have gone down, well, if you're being mentioned in a top 100 anywhere in the UK, Scotland, England, or Ireland, like that's a huge accomplishment. So, and I think the other thing to mention with rankings is just because you've gone down doesn't necessarily mean that you've done anything wrong. The standard of golf is rising quite a lot in the UK.
There's a lot of money being spent on golf as well.
And that could just be part of it too, is that it's not necessarily that you've gotten worse. It's just that maybe your peers have just edged you out on this cycle.
Yeah.
But give it a year or two and, investment, do the right work the right way. And
there's lots of places like here at Hadley Wood that are spending a huge amount of money and effort and time in developing and the whole package of what they offer, and they've just done a full bunker renovation with Clyde Johnson, who, as you know, is a great, a great architect, and it means that a lot of the bunkers don't have sand in them right now, but come the summer they will, and it will start to look amazing. and then our England ranking comes out in January.
That's the thing. So there's a lot of investment that's being done. So, I mean, I was talking to an owner of a golf club not that long ago, where in the past, historically, they were in the England ranking. They dropped out, and then they've re-entered. And when they re-entered after doing a load of work, and the course is probably better now than it ever was previously when it was previously ranked, and they weren't as high. And yeah, very astutely, he said, well, it's not that we haven't done great work. It's just everybody else has also done good work as well. So that's the thing to keep in mind is at the end of the day, rankings are subjective. If you're talking about 48 and 51.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, in England, I don't think people realize how deep England goes. As a Scotsman, it's hard for me to say it, but our 100th ranked golf course versus England's 100th ranked golf course, it's a no-brainer who you go play.
Yeah.
England is incredibly deep, and there's a lot of good golf around it.
Maybe that's one thing to end on too, is when we were looking at the contenders list for England, there's, I think we've had something like between 40 and 50 golf courses. And if you were to ask our panel, out of the 60 courses from like 91 to 150, pick 10 that we can put in those last 10 spots. So 91 to 100. Like the range that you get in those answers is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because there's, out of every one that you pick, there's 5 that won't make it. And that's just good to keep in mind. So even if you don't get into it, it doesn't mean that you don't have a fighting chance. And it doesn't mean that, you're not going to make it in next time. So yeah, it's exciting. But I think we've got a really robust process. We've had more contributions than we've ever had before. Once you kind of layer in all of that data, you start to see some trends emerge, and you can really start to see how people are seeing golf based on the criteria that we've set. So yeah, it's exciting, but I'm looking forward to it. Spring is going to be interesting. We've got a nice little build with a lot of ranking releases up until the Masters, and then kind of playing season officially kicks off, officially, unofficially, with the Masters. And yeah, then we'll be into more playing content, which can't wait to, because yeah, being inside looking at spreadsheets and screens, there's it's finite amount of time that remains fun.
It is getting, winter can piss off now.
Agreed.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jasper. And thank you very much for everyone who's listening. Remember, play fast, lunch slow.
Top100golfcourses.com has set the standard for golfers worldwide, and now you can wear that standard proudly. Premium apparel and exclusive gear for those who truly know the game. Shop now at top100golfcourses.com.